Okay, so here is an example then of a question that you could be asked. So, describe a child that you know. You should say who the child is, how you know the child, and when you see the child. So you're going to have a minute and then at the end explain why you like or dislike this child. So you're going to have a minute to answer these 4 points. So most people benefit from scribbling down some notes here. I've had some candidates that are like, oh no, I'm fine, I've got it all in my head. But remember, when you're in the exam room, the nerves are going to be there. There's going to be that tension there. So you really want to give yourself as much support as possible. So you're going to have the opportunity, you're going to have a pencil. So make some notes. Make some notes against each of the different points. These points are there to help you to structure your response. So your response should be more fluent and more coherent as a result. This is where you can use the technique I was talking about in terms of beginning in the past and then going into the present and then the future. So here, so describe a child that you know. So before you go into the questions, who the child is, how you know the child, when you see the child, you might want to give a little bit of background about yourself. So are you the sort of person who spends a lot of time in contact with children? Maybe you're a teacher of children, maybe you have family members who are young children. So you can sort of give a brief sort of introduction about yourself. That helps you to kind of develop your response so that you've got more material. And then sort of how you know the child. Well, that straight away is opening up the door to talk about the past, isn't it? I met the child when I was volunteering at a school, and then you can give details there using lots of past tense. And when you see the child is referring to the present. So now, when do you see the child? So I see the child when I go back and volunteer, and I do that sort of on a monthly basis, whatever the situation might be. And you can explain why you like or dislike the child. Again, you're talking about the present tense, but you can link that to past experiences. So, I really like this child because he's so positive and he's full of energy. For example, when I first started volunteering, he was the first person to greet me and make me feel welcome. And he really participated well in all the activities that we did. So you've got the opportunity to use that variety there. And then if the time is there, if the examiner is still waiting for you to speak, you haven't reached the 2 minutes, then you can start talking about the future. Do you think you're going to continue being in contact with this child? What do you think? How do you think your relationship might develop going forward? So you've got these points on the card. You have to answer all of these points, but don't feel that you have to rigidly stick to this and that you're not allowed to talk about anything else. You can talk about other points. It has to be linked to the same topic, but you can talk about other points which help you to sort of develop your answer and make sure that you hit the 2 minutes, because that's what you need to be doing. So you've got your 1 minute preparation. You've made your notes. You've got some ideas about what you're going to say. And then you get going. Now, issues. One issue which comes up quite a lot with part 2 is that sometimes it's a topic that the speaker doesn't like. Like, well, in this case, I don't really know any children. I'm a 33-year-old male. I don't really spend much time with kids. I don't have any kids, so you may not really like the question. So what are you going to do in this situation? You've got 2 options, really. One option is just to use your imagination. That's what you've got a minute there to do. You can, sort of maybe think about a time when you did spend time with kids, or, maybe think about some kind of nephew or any interaction that you can think of, use that as inspiration. Then you can invent extra details if you need to, in order to make the 2 minutes. Or you could be honest and you could say, to be honest, I don't really spend that much time around children. And then you could talk about maybe when you were at school, possibly, but when I was at school, my best friend, when I was 8 years old, was a kid who was this, who was that, who was the other. Talk about how your relationship has developed as you've gotten older. Do you still stay in contact, etc.? So something that is still as linked to the question as possible. Link it as closely as possible, but it's going to be a little bit different because your personal circumstances are different to what is on the question paper.